Okay, I think we can start. We'll begin with the roll call.
Councilman Daley?
Here.
Councilman Popescu? Mayor Rigsby?
Here.
Councilman Lenart and Mayor Pro Tempore Phil Duper are absent this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We had a closed session, and we have a report out from our city attorney.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. The City Council was in closed session on the item listed of real property matter. There was a report and discussion, direction given, but no action taken to be reported at this time.
Thank you. Next is our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Will be led by Councilman Daley. Please rise. Mr. City Manager, what are the items to be deleted or added?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, I would like to delete item number 3.
You want to delete it, or you want to open it and then
Oh, it's public,
you have to renotice it?
yeah, public hearing, I'm sorry. So we can have a public hearing, but we can move it to the next meeting.
Okay.
Presentation and action in December tonight, just so we don't have to go through the publishing and notification again.
Right, we won't have a presentation or any discussion this evening because we have to deal with the conflict of interest issue first on that item.
Mm-hmm. But can we have any public hearing on it without the conflict?
If there were a person who could not be here at the continued date, they're entitled to speak on the agenda under public comment, but I would recommend against holding the public hearing until we select the council members to participate.
Okay. Okay, that brings up the public participation oral report item on the agenda. Would anybody like to speak on any items not on the agenda or on item 3? Okay, no takers. Then we'll move on to, you want to speak on item 3?
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Not on item 3, public comment.
Oh, okay. Yes, please, come forward. I didn't notice, sorry.
It's okay. I'm Gail Covey. I'm a field representative for Supervisor James Ramos. We have a big district. He has a big district. I have a big area from Colton to Forest Falls, so you guys don't always see me here, but he has let us hire an intern, and Hannah Musa is now an intern that's going to shadow me. So I'm introducing her to all the city councils when I'm at Grand Terrace or Highland the same night you guys have yours, or vice versa. You'll see her or me, one of us. But sorry if you felt neglected, that wasn't the intention, but again, you have 8 cities and everybody wants them there. So I'll introduce Hannah.
All right. Hi, I'm Hannah. It's nice to meet every one of you, and I'm really looking forward to working with you all soon. And I'm just glad to be representing Supervisor Ramos's office. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Good to have you here. Okay, any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move to item number 1. And this is a presentation of a proclamation to Crossroads Rotary Club of San Bernardino and Loma Linda in recognition of 50 years of service. Is Cheryl Donahue here? Come forward. I have issued the proclamation, but I'm going to defer to my colleague, Councilman Daley, to do the honors. Yes.
Thank you. I also wanted to, my name is Cheryl Donahue. I'm a resident of Loma Linda, 18-year member of the Rotary Club, and also wanted to introduce our current president, Gary Kerstetter, who is with the School of Dentistry as well. And,
Gary's
doing
obviously an
fantastic
old friend and
work.
colleague, yeah, so welcome to both of you.
Ron was my instructor a couple years ago.
A couple of years ago, yeah. Like two, 3 decades
I do
ago.
love this city of Loma Linda. I have the opportunity now to be able to teach here. I do live in Temecula, and so again,
You're a citizen through your employment.
that's correct.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you and congratulations on this proclamation. It's quite a lengthy proclamation, so I'm only going to read, there are many whereases and therefores in here, so I'm only going to read a few what I considered highlights. First, whereas Crossroads Rotary Club of San Bernardino, Loma Linda, formed in June 1967 as the Rotary Club of San Bernardino South, has operated continuously in a community service organization attracting members primarily from Loma Linda and the southern area of San Bernardino. We'll skip a few whereases and down to whereas Crossroads Rotary Club has partnered with other Rotary clubs and organizations to secure in excess of $300,000 in grant funding for medical surgeries, dental clinics, which I know something about in association with Dr. Heisler, and orphanages and clean water projects in emerging countries. And whereas Mel Up, I understand a Loma Linda citizen, age 89, one of the club's founding members, remains an active, vibrant member of Crossroads Rotary Club with ongoing contributions to the club and helps the club promote fellowship and fund. Now, therefore, I, Rhodes Rigsby, Mayor of the City of Loma Linda, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby recognize the contributions of Crossroads Rotary Club of San Bernardino, Loma Linda, and congratulate them for their 50 years of service to the community, both local and global. Congratulations. It's a great service that you and your fellow business leaders and members provide, and it's nice to be part of the organization. So congratulations on this.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
And you know, you're always welcome to join us. We meet on Wednesdays at noon over at the SAC Clinic on 250 South G Street, and we would love to have representatives come and pay us a visit. So.
And if you can remain where you're, were you wanting to address this?
She's going to take our picture.
Oh, take a picture. Oh, okay. Okay. There you go.
Your 50's turned upside down now.
Yeah, heavens.
Okay, I'll take a few. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Thank you. Safe travel.
Coming up on 50 here, too.
Okay, item number 2, Council Bill O-2017-04, adding Chapter 1562 to the Loma Linda Municipal Code.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, I will I have very little to add to the staff report, which basically explains that this is one of those ordinances that the legislature in their wisdom has required us to adopt in order to provide an expedited process for review and approval of applications for electric vehicle charging stations that would be constructed elsewhere other than city property. I did add a couple recent provisions to what was basically a recommended ordinance. And I did add, and it's before you this evening, an amendment which includes some language that allows the denial of an application only in very limited situations consistent with the government code, basically where there's some severe adverse negative impact on the public health or safety that cannot be mitigated. And those findings could be appealed to the Planning Commission. There's also provision for a conditional use permit if there's some unusual situation that can be mitigated, and the Planning Commission again would hear that. So I would be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, it's before you for introduction on first reading. And
So do we need to vote on the amendment first and then the,
well, the recommendation is to adopt the amended version that's been
Okay.
presented,
okay.
and that would be the motion.
And we have a public hearing first.
Yes.
So, any questions of staff before we have the public hearing?
I was just curious, do we have the charging stations that have been built so far, have they been done because the applicants chose to put them in, or do we have some ordinance that says they have to be in?
Right now, we have none.
None.
That we
So whoever builds something, they choose in their parking lots to add a charging station?
Yes, sir.
And when they do that, they need to go through a process of applying for a permit?
Yes.
And what's in front of us is to ensure that that process is expedited?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And how are potential applicants going to know about this? Or is there any communication?
This is state law.
No, I understand that, but, so I guess every employer knows that they have
If
the
they
right
invent-
to apply for and install a, okay.
If
Because-
they are in this business
Because
station.
some parking lots I go to, Tesla already has Tesla-identified charging stations. Yeah,
One of the provisions of state law is that we are required to include on our website the information and forms so that applicants can obtain those readily and submit them electronically even.
okay.
So,
I guess that would be appropriate.
yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, because, no, you go out and down to the, what do you call it, the factory mall down, Cabazon, thank you. All I could think of was Carmel. I knew that wasn't right. Yeah, no, they've got a whole series of Tesla refuel station. No Fiat, yeah.
No, and I have to pay when I charge. Yeah, because I
Okay.
didn't pay up front. Okay, we will have a public hearing. I'll open it. Please come forward, the public. Comment if you will. Remain silent if you will. Okay, no takers. So we'll close the public hearing.
Would the mayor like to give personal testimony about electric cars needing charging stations?
I'm particularly appreciative of the Target parking lot off Sierra in Fontana, because it's rescued me from foolish long trips to the west side of the county with insufficient charge to return home without that free charging station in the parking lot of the Target. So,
I'll have to remember that.
yeah, and it's for Fiats. It's not for Tesla. But I'm also appreciative to Fiat for essentially giving me the car. It's an amazing deal. And it was not public transportation, so it's legal for me to do it. And it's offered to the general public, so they're not buying me off as a politician. So I appreciate their program. I understand why Fiat's doing it, because they're attached at the hip to Chrysler, and Chrysler sells a lot of Hemis that don't get the best gas mileage, so they need the 112 miles per gallon of my car to compensate for that. So I'm doing them a service.
There you go.
So what we need then is a motion to set the second reading for December 12.
I will move Council Bill 0-2017-04 for approval as amended.
And introducing first reading and setting second reading for
Second
December
reading.
12.
Right, thank you.
Yeah. Okay? So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. That's unanimous, so we will see everybody on December 12 and discuss it further. And then item 3, as we discussed earlier, we will not be having the public hearing until we have dealt with our conflict of interest issues, and that will be, can we vote to delay it till a date certain?
You may vote to continue it to that certain date.
Okay. We don't have any information otherwise, right? We presume people will be here, and if not, we'll do this again. Okay, so is there a motion?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion, any opposition? I hear none, so that's going to December 12. Next is our consent calendar.
And I'll second it, but I would like to pull number 9 and number 10.
Okay, what is your question on number 9?
I didn't have a chance to read the staff report on this. Can you tell me what this is?
Yes, sir. This is the radar sign that to tell you how fast you're going. And we plan to purchase 2 of them, one for westbound at Beaumont Avenue, and another one for eastbound at Beaumont. Just to say
You
how
don't
fast
have
you're
one
going.
up there already?
No, sir. So usually you put up the existing speed limit sign,
Yeah.
and this will be right below or on top of it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And we will purchase it, and the city staff will install it
And I
ourselves.
assume we're doing this to address a problem.
Yes, sir. There's a speeding down on Beaumont Avenue, yes.
Okay.
Is there any possibility we could get a mobile radar feedback sign? Instead of a,
Move it around?
instead of a fixed, yeah. Because I've seen these in some towns where they just park it on
Yeah.
the side of the road.
For the mobile one, sometime we use the county, have the
They have
sheriff
one?
has the mobile one. And we tried it at that location a couple of times already.
Okay, anytime?
You have one for the whole county or just for us? Then you have to share with other cities.
Yeah, but they're not using it much, is what I hear.
The challenge there is that same problem. It comes back in cycles. It's been the same thing for a long time. So you'll get the speeding complaints, and then our law enforcement folks will enforce and have a presence, and then we get the ticket complaints, and then some time passes and we get the speeding complaints. So really, I mean, we've heard this problem for many, many years,
So have we received complaints from
Oh,
Beaumont
oh, yes, sir.
neighborhoods?
Yeah,
And
I'm
then
not
he sent
surprised, but-
he sent an email to all of you too. He sent me, it said Charlie? I think it's Charlie. Yeah, we have a couple complaints.
So these two signs are just for that street?
Yes, sir.
For both directions?
One each direction. It's similar on IBDA Route 1 on Anderson. Typically.
Oh, we did?
Yes.
Has your
I
name
pass
on
it all the
bottom of
time.
it.
He doesn't put traffic stop, we just build roads.
But you've passed it many times. Yes, you have.
I don't
you don't notice.
I only drive out of Richardson and Mountain View. I avoid Pickens.
No, this is typical,
No,
right?
it's,
Where is it?
you,
Between Mill and,
pay attention next time, you'll see it, it's on the way to the airport. You can't miss it. He missed
He's
it.
going too fast.
You can't miss it, but he did. Yeah. Well, I always beat him when we race.
Okay, thank you for that. I've got the same question on number 10.
Yes, sir, this is the traffic signal controller, which is, you see on the, it's a big square box next to the traffic signal at one corner. And the one that at the University and Anderson is not working anymore, so we need to buy a new one.
Okay.
Yes, because that's pretty much the brain of the traffic signal.
Have you seen the insides of those things? Very complicated.
So is it just old and worn
Yes, sir.
out, or was it,
It's-
okay?
It's old and worn out, yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
We're using this coming out of what fund?
It's general fund. General fund.
You anticipated that we may have to replace at some point, so when you run the budget, it was in there or no?
We wouldn't anticipate this one. What we have been doing, we went out and surveyed every traffic signal controller and battery backups. And last year, we did spend a lot of money on the battery backup system, and now we found out that this one doesn't work, so. And then we also work with SBCTA on make sure that all the traffic signal synchronization are working and make sure that the controllers are working, so.
Yeah.
This is part of it.
Just to comment on item number 9, before all of the complaints about people going too fast, we got a complaint from somebody who wanted us to increase the speed limit because we were violating the state code on 85th percentile speed limit setting. And because of special circumstances, because of heavy pedestrian traffic, we elected to put a speed limit that was below the 85th percentile. And it'd be interesting to see what this kind of an awareness radar feedback sign does to the 85th percentile. I wonder if it would drop. Because people are, the way these things work is people are afraid there's a camera attached to it. And if once they know there's no camera attached, I'm not sure that the effect would be sustained. I would think it would be more impressive that way with intermittent application rather than consistent.
I think the advocate from the sign there is gonna lower your complaints you're getting from the, you don't, those signs, you can't see how fast you're going with those signs because you put a limit in there and then it just starts flashing for you to slow down.
Hmm.
So that takes away that. I'm not sure that it's gonna drop it all that much further down. I think it's gonna make people aware that the speed limit there is 35, and hey, you're not going 35, you're going 50,
Mm-hmm.
you're going 45, slow down. So,
Yeah. I can just tell you my reaction to these things is that I'm impressed that when my speedometer says 50 in a 35, it says I'm only going 47, so it makes me want to go 53. And that's all hypothetical, of course. Yeah. Well, what it tells me is that my speedometer is off, so I assume that it's calibrated. But I don't know whether it takes into account sines and cosines and tangents, or whether it's, pointing straight down the street. I've always wondered that about these things. Do you calculate how much you need to increase the reading to compensate for the sign of the angle? Yeah, it reads in Italian.
My challenge is, I know that there's not a camera in there to ticket you, but my wife doesn't believe me, so she has her own brake pedal on her side of the car
Yes.
somehow.
And she's constantly
Slows me
pressing
down,
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll call a question on the.
So those are items 9 and 10, and we have a motion on the consent calendar. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, is there any opposition? Hearing none, it's approved unanimously. Item number 15, approve an agreement between the city and Planning Plus for the preparation of an environmental document.
This is the agreement with Planning Plus, as we discussed in closed session, relating to planning services, environmental impact report, and preliminary work to entitle the property and develop a tentative track map for the approximately 70 acres formerly redevelopment-owned property in Special Planning Area D. Typically, this would be a pass-through to where whoever was doing the project would deposit that money with the city. Then we would hire a consultant to do that and then pass through that money. Since we are the originator, we will be essentially passing through to ourselves. This did go out to RFP. We had three people who were, three groups who replied. Planning Plus was the lowest bidder and was also the group who did the project for the VA and the adjacent property to the east. So they're very well experienced and knowledgeable in the implications of working in Special Planning Area D. Thank you.
Is there any potential to cover this, recover this money in subsequent fees, development fees?
There is potential to recover this in a couple of different mechanisms, either through specific planning charge fees, or through development agreements with future buyers.
And also request an appropriation for $400,000 from
Oh, yeah,
general
we
fund.
need to pay for it, right?
Yes, a reserve.
And we've got the money in the general fund this early in the fiscal year.
It will become from a reserve. Yes.
Unless I missed it, did the other two bids, were they not listed in the staff report? You said
I
this was
don't-
the
I don't
lowest. I'm
think we
just
put
curious
the-
as to what the other ones were.
I don't think we put the provider and the amount. The
Okay.
Plans Plus was the lowest bidder.
Could you tell us what the amounts was for the other two?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know one of them was Lilburn, who was, if I recall, about 60,000 more, and Lilburn's done a lot of work in the
Mhm.
city. They just haven't done anything in Area D, and I don't recall who the third group
Okay.
was, but they were much more expensive.
Okay, thank you.
So are we appropriating 400,000 plus 10% contingency, or 484,000?
484.
Because in the staff report, it says 400,000 plus 10%.
I think what they ended up with was 10% on 10%, so 484 is what we'd like to appropriate, and that'll give us the 10% for contingencies.
But that's 10%, that's 21%, because it's 10% of 110%. Is that the correct amount?
That sounds right, yes. And this is not something that we're forced to expend, it's something that is in the bank for us, that we're able to use should we have to, and not have to come back for additional
Well,
appropriation.
how much was the bid?
Basically 400,000.
So, it sounds like we need to correct the amount that we are appropriating.
But we can go to 440. It's- Okay.
Yeah, because 440 sounds like the correct amount. Okay, so is there a motion?
I'll go ahead and move this
Second.
agreement. And
At 440,000?
yes, make a note that the agenda item shows 484, but the correct amount should be 440.
Which includes a 10% contingency.
That includes the 10%, correct. So the actual amount will be 400, and hopefully they won't come back for the other 10.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Is there any opposition? I hear none, so that's approved unanimously. Next, we have reports of councilmen. I would like to mention that our strike force Fire Department crew went up into Northern California and helped the people of Santa Rosa. And we have received multiple thank you notes and cards with lots of signatures from people who are saying, for example, with profound gratitude and deepest appreciation, we thank Loma Linda Fire Department who courageously provided assistance in our time of need. And you're true defenders preventing further devastation to our community. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, with lots of signatures and individual cards as well from the Santa Rosa East Rotary and from individuals. So you can see these if you like, but I just wanted everybody to know that not only do our firefighters save life and property in our county, but they help all throughout the state of California and throughout the United States when called upon. So we'd like to congratulate our firefighters on the great work that they did in Northern California.
Can we pass those on to the fire chief, so maybe they have a board they can put them up on?
Yes,
Yes.
that was, I've seen those. It's, usually we'll get 2 or 3 on a big assignment, but that's just today's. I've got literally dozens of those from Santa Rosa and Sonoma.
Very good,
so.
very good.
Just a general comment. I ran into a gentleman who runs a fixed-base operating FBO up there in Santa Rosa Airport, and his house was, he believed, saved because of the firefighters that are down that street. Unfortunately, it's interesting, he told me that 4 of his employees lost everything. And what was also interesting was he said that there were a number of huge homes that were lost. These are people who owned multi-million-dollar jets. So all they had left was their jets after losing their houses.
I have a question that's come to me that actually ties into what you were saying about streetlights that are synchronized. And I've experienced this as well. I don't remember the name of the street, but it's the right next to the last stoplight. If you're going west on Mountain View, the last stoplight where it will turn into the Shell station going west, or on east it goes into that complex of buildings. That thing seems to trigger to a stoplight when nobody's at the intersection.
Yes.
And I'm not the only one that's noticed it now.
Yes, because that one is also tied to the freeway. But let me work on that.
'Cause I had to catch a plane. I can remember one time, it was 4 o'clock in the morning, I was heading to the airport.
Yes,
And I sat there for, a minute or 2
yes.
with nobody around, and now I've heard from 2 or 3 other people.
See, we have a problem when there's traffic signal that close to the freeway on-ramp or off-ramp.
Yeah.
Is because we have to deal with, we don't have control over the Caltrans signal. So a lot of time is, we have to adjust our signal to match there, but I'm
But is
glad.
that not on a trigger only, so that a car has to roll up and stop waiting for the light?
It's,
before-
a lot of time it's both,
Okay.
but I can double check to see if the loops work or not, but it should.
Okay, and then I'm also continuing to hear frustration and, I think a week ago on a Saturday, experienced it too. Trucks that get off those off-ramps will make it partway through the intersection, but their trailer's hanging back and the whole thing boogers up. Are we any closer to actually getting relief from that?
Yes,
I know
sir.
you said there's a temporary
Yes, sir.
plan.
We are gonna widen the off-ramp,
Off-ramps.
and the plan is to submit we had a meeting with Caltrans last week, as a matter of fact, so we plan to submit the plan to Caltrans by next month. So the goal is to go out to bid in February. And we received $1 million grant from Caltrans and $250,000 from IVDA,
So
and the city is
how
putting.
long would we expect for them to actually break dirt after the bids are in and
I'm planning for April, or May.
Oh, okay, that's better than I expected.
We are.
But it is a problem.
Oh, yes,
And
that's
it is
why,
a
that's
very
why we
big
move
problem.
forward, and we already have 95% complete, the plan, and ready to submit to Caltrans. We had a meeting with them last week, so.
And
We ready to go.
Is that, how does patrolling that intersection, because these guys are clearly being ridiculous, and it happens fairly often. Does Highway Patrol take care of that? Because half the intersection San Bernardino and half of it is Loma Linda.
Have to ask Lieutenant.
All right.
I'm making a note to have my guys, just make sure they pay attention to that.
Especially when it's a busy intersection, that's when it
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
gets the worst, yeah.
I'll have my traffic guys.
Keep an eye on it.
It's in Loma Linda, they do it.
Okay, thanks.
Well, the whole intersection is in Loma Linda at Mountain View, including under
But what about on the other side of the freeway?
the on and off ramps are in Loma Linda on that intersection for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
To the fence,
the-
the
the-
fence line, yes, on the
Yeah.
other side, that,
So the westbound on-ramp is a Loma Linda on-ramp?
It is.
I thought the reason we didn't clean it up like we did the other two is because it was San Bernardino.
I tried to ask them, but this project that we're doing
Yeah.
is going to include the hardscape on both
Both
sides.
sides,
Yes, sir.
okay, good, good. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
And
any
let Caltrans
reports?
pay for it.
Any reports of officers?
Yes, sir. It's that time again, December 4th, Monday, December 4th at 4:30. There will be a Christmas tree lighting in front of the City Hall here. So-
And I understand this is going to be a much larger production than usual.
Yes, the Chamber of Commerce has invited the band from Loma Linda Academy to come and play some music for us. see
And
what
they've
happens.
invited a choir of angels from the academy as well to sing, from what I've heard.
Would you
Wow.
happen to know one of the angels?
Well, but it depends on which band, which choir it is. If it's the high-end choir, I don't know any of them.
Are there seats for people to sit down?
No, they're going to be caroling for us. So in the past, it's been analogous to a Charlie Brown episode, but now it's going to be more like, you know, an evening at the Pops.
Sounds good to me.
So don't miss it. And of course, wonderful refreshments as well. Cookies and hot chocolate.
Barbara started baking already.
Okay, also there is the Parade of Lights, Fire Department.
just to start to announce the dates of the Parade of Lights and the sections of town will be December 17, 18, and 19. The 17th, the northwest side of town, the 18th, the northeast, and then the 19th, the south side of town. These will be, again, in the December agenda, so we'll just kind of flag people's awareness right now, but this detail will come back in December.
It looks like there's a discrepancy between our agenda and what's up.
Yes, what's on the screen is correct.
Is correct, okay. Okay, that means the city council is adjourned, but we have two more agendas to get through, and they go fast, believe me. Next is a successor agency to the redevelopment agency. Are there any items to be added or deleted?
No, sir.
Would the public like to speak on any items not on the agenda? Hearing none, the consent calendar.
Second?
Motion is second. Further discussion, opposition, hearing none, it's approved. Reports of officers, hearing none, we're adjourned. Next is the Housing Authority agenda. Are there any items to be added or deleted?
No, sir.
Would the public like to speak on any items not on the agenda? Hearing none, there is a consent calendar.
Second?
Motion is second. Further discussion, hearing none, any opposition? Hearing none, it's approved. Chair and member reports, reports of officers, hearing none, we are adjourned. And that's the last, yes.
Yeah, I just forgot to mention that we got an update on the attendance for the air show that we had a couple of weeks ago, and it was slightly more than last year. It was about 10,500, and it went well. I mean, I think all three of us, I find out, we attended. We must have missed each other. I don't know where you were at.
I was there on Sunday.
Okay, we were there. I
Yeah,
came
we were
on
there
Sunday as
Sunday.
well.
Oh, were you?
We just
Oh.
must have missed each other. But anyway, it was a great event, and they're planning it again next year, and they're always learning, so they're always going to make a few, you know, improvements, hopefully, and
I
trying
would just
to
like to
get
see more warbirds.
Yeah. One of the things they are considering is the idea of not charging. So make it actually free, because they believe that they can generate significantly more participation. There's lots of people who are choosing not to come in because of the cost. We would still pay for parking, but the vendors that we had there were very, very pleased with their sales. So clearly, there's a way for us to recoup some of the costs by making it a little bit more expensive to actually put in a booth there. But it's definitely.
fighters are incredible.
Yeah, those guys do an amazing job. And we are gonna try to get more static displays too. We don't have enough military stuff out there, so. Anyway, just
Yeah,
a quick
warbirds.
update.
I want to see P-51s.
P-51s?
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
warbirds.
Oh, yeah.
That's the good stuff. Well, we wanted to talk to the people at Chino, but, you know, they've got their own air show to worry about. They've got some of the best warbirds in the world there.
Do they?
Oh, yeah. They've got the only flying with an original engine Japanese Zero,
Oh, really?
Mitsubishi Zero, yeah. It's the only one in the world,
Really?
yeah,
Even Japan?
in even Japan. All the ones in Japan crashed into ships.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's it. We're adjourned. Thank you for coming. Faithful attendance. Yes.